Hello, hello, everyone. The topic of the week is meetings. Too many, no good, terrible, useless meetings. If you're listening or watching, you are most likely a technical manager or something similar to that. Or perhaps you want to be a technical manager at some point. Perhaps you're an individual contributor at this point. Maybe you serve as a tech lead or a senior IC, or you're a technical manager or a director or even a VP, someone in senior leadership. And I know that you go to a lot of meetings, that for a lot of you, that's what your days are, back-to-back meetings, one-on-ones with your team, with your boss, skip level one-on-ones potentially. There's also group meetings of every flavor, right? So there may be company-wide meetings. You hold staff meetings with your team, planning meetings, daily stand-ups, and all of the meetings that are part of Agile or whatever framework you might follow or have dreamed, or your project managers may have dreamed up, meetings that they make you go to. And I'm not knocking project managers, not all of them anyway. I know there's good ones out there, but I also know there's some that make you go to way too many meetings that are completely useless. But here's the thing, even if someone's making you go to a meeting, it's your meeting. Own it, right? Your butt is in that seat, your feet are on that floor, or whatever, it's a standing meeting or a sitting meeting. Make the most of it, right? Because chances are, if someone's making you go to a meeting in their minds, it's like, yeah, this is going to be useful. And if you're not getting anything out of it, whose fault is that? It's your meeting, own it. So that's a message that I spread as far as possible. I mention as often as possible, is own your meetings. What does that mean really though? Right? What does it mean to own, to take extreme ownership of the meetings that you go to? Because I know that for a lot of you, it's not just the volume of meetings. Like that's part of it. That like trimming your meetings, downsizing your meetings would absolutely have a positive effect. And then compounded with that is, even if you were to deal with the volume aspect of it, it's the effectiveness aspect of it, the quality aspect of it, right? You go to meetings and what's the end result? It's like close to zero measurable outcome at the end of the meeting. And people end up being more confused. There's less clarity. There's less of a vision about how to move forward than there was before the meeting. When isn't the ideal meeting, right? If you were to think of the ideal meeting, what would be the desired outcome? We're moving forward. We've decided on action steps. We've come to a decision about how to move forward. Or maybe you've just gotten a little bit more clarity. If it's not about action and decision making and action taking, it's at least about gaining a little bit more clarity around an issue so that you can get closer to that decision making and action taking. That's really what it boils down to. Every awesome meeting that you've ever been to, and I know that some of you have been to a few, the terrible ones kind of stand out in our minds because that's where we go to. It's how our brain works. But I encourage you to also think about, what's the best meeting that I ever went to? Maybe it was one-on-one, maybe it was a group meeting. Why was it so freaking awesome, right? It's because you made progress. It was measurable progress and you felt it after that meeting. And you were like stoked, jazzed, or whatever other surfer speak you want to use to talk about the emotions that you were feeling, all the feelings you were feeling after that meeting to move forward. Yes, progress. You were connected to what's possible. And it was really clear what the next steps were going to be. and you felt empowered to go and take those next steps. Even if it was just small steps, they were steps in the right direction. And so the question becomes, how do we make sure that we're owning every single meeting that we go to, and that also we're saying no to some meetings as well? Because I guarantee you, every single one of you, if you're listening and this is resonating, oh my God, I have way too many no good, terrible, useless meetings that I go to. If that is where you are right now, I guarantee you that there are way too many meetings on your schedule right now, and you need to learn how to say no. You need to learn to say, you know what, I'm not going to go to this meeting unless there is a defined agenda and a really clear desired outcome. If there's not, my time is better spent elsewhere because there's an opportunity cost. If your butt is in a useless meeting, what are you losing out on? Where else could you be? Where else could you be having a better conversation? Where else could you be making an impact instead of having your butt in that seat? There's absolutely an opportunity cost to saying yes to useless meetings. So that's why we learn how to say no more often. But it's also about owning the meetings while you're in them. Making sure that if it's not your meeting, you are doing everything you can to show up as the leader who you are, not in a forceful way, but in a compassionate way. Hey, hang on, what's the agenda? Before we move any forward, sorry to interrupt. Hey, Bob, hang on, Bob. Before we move any further, can I interrupt? I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is really important. It's going to help us all get a better sense of why we're here. Can you please share the agenda and the desired outcome for this meeting? And if Bob can't do that, sorry, Bob, I have something that I need to talk with my team about. You know, I know that you're really committed to making sure that we get the most value out of this meeting. And I don't think that we're going to do this if you can't clarify and clearly articulate the desired outcome for this meeting. So I'm going to jump for now. And when you do that, I'll come back and we can talk later. Okay, bye. Right. Taking control of the meeting and okay, are we moving forward? Okay, guys, we have 5 more minutes. Hang on, sorry to interrupt. We have 5 more minutes here and I don't have more clarity. I actually have less clarity than I did 30 minutes ago. So how can we all get some more clarity right now? Owning your meetings, even if it's not your meeting, and especially if it's your meeting, you're going to make sure that you're driving that meeting forward toward the desired outcome and you're communicating the desired outcome and you're communicating that clarity. Because if not, it's a terrible, useless, no good meeting. And so I know for a lot of you, you may have already been implementing these strategies. That's great. Keep doing it. For a lot of you though, you either haven't been implementing these strategies because you don't know how, you can't figure it out, and you're feeling uncomfortable about it, and it's just too wacky crazy where you are, where it's just like you can't see straight, and you've tried and tried and tried, and you can't figure it out, or you just, and it's like I need some help. So if you need some help figuring out how to take control of your meetings, then it's time to book a call with us, thepeoplestack.com/book, because really, what is the opportunity cost here? If you are not taking ownership over your meetings and you are wasting precious hour after precious hour in terrible, no good, useless meetings, what's the cost? It's costing you team wins. It's costing you impact. It's costing you your career. Because you are wasting your career away in terrible, no good, useless meetings when you could be doing something else. And that's why you're stuck right now. And that's why you're feeling like, why haven't I reached a higher level in my career than some of my peers? If you're feeling like most of your day is in useless meetings, there's the answer. There's the answer right now. Right there. That's the opportunity cost. But you know what happens when you really take control of your meetings and you take ownership of your meetings? Not only do you have more time to focus on the stuff that matters and the meetings that matter, and you can inspire your team at a much higher level, and you can build relationships in a way that just astounds other people because you have the time, space, and the headspace to do that. You can think strategically, plan strategically in a way that becomes your superpower, because again, you have that time, space, and that headspace to sit back. You're not like in the weeds and useless meetings all the time. You're in meetings that matter, and in the space in between, you have that time to reflect and let things marinate and think strategically and plan. And you also just have more time to get shit done as well, to get stuff done instead of just hopping from meetings to meetings to meetings. So you're going to have more impact, you're going to have more time, you're going to have more freedom in your life because you're no longer going to be stuck at meetings all day and in those end of the day meetings where you really should be going home, but you're stuck in meetings. And once you go home, and I know that this is the case for a lot of you, you're going home, you're having dinner, and then you're in more meetings after that. And then you're in more meetings in the morning before you actually even go to work. Or you're on call in the evening before you go to work. And it's compressing the amount of time that you have available to really make an impact. And it's compressing the amount of time you have available for things outside of work, which is why you're feeling so frustrated and stressed and just contracted right now, is because you don't have the space to breathe and think and live and be full of joy because you're just stuck in meetings all day. So that's what's possible, is living a life full of joy, living a life full of abundance when you are not stuck in meetings all day. So that's what's possible. So if you want to unlock, so it's locked right now for you, right? You're like, you're stuck. It's like, I can't open this key. Like, I know it's possible, but how do I open this key? If you want to unlock that potential in your career, book a call with us today, thepeoplestack.com/book. We're going to take a look at what's going on right now at work in terms of your meetings. How many meetings, how many hours, how frustrated are you? How is this affecting the rest of your life? What's the opportunity cost for you specifically? Because while I talked about it in general, for you specifically, there are opportunity costs that maybe you've already realized, but we will uncover them and talk about them. Opportunity costs, meaning for your health, for your well-being, for your relationships in work and outside of work. There are absolutely opportunity costs. There are things that you are losing out on. There are things that are happening to you that are negative and that will continue to happen to you if your butt stays stuck in meetings all day. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get to the truth of it. We're also going to talk about where you want to go. What is life going to be like? What is your world going to be like? Work going to be like? Your career? What is possible when you unlock the potential of not just showing up for your meetings in a more empowering, confident, clarifying, strategically oriented way, but also what if you showed up at work like that all the time? What if you showed up in your life that way all the time? What's possible for you? And if we're 100% confident we can get you from where you are right now to where you want to go, then we're going to map out a plan. And we're going to talk about the details of what it would look like to work together, including the time, the investment, and all of that. We give you those details and you make a decision about how you want to move forward. But whatever the outcome of the call, you're still going to get, speaking of clarity, speaking of value, that's what every meeting is about. That's what we're absolutely committed to doing. So it's a 1-hour conversation. It is going to be so clarifying, so valuable to you. You're going to be able to take what we talk about during this conversation and immediately apply it to that next meeting, to that next day. And you're going to show up differently because of it. We're going to give you a model for having these conversations that are clarifying and valuable, and you're going to be able to apply that model immediately. So it's time to book a call with us today, thepeoplestack.com/book. So we'll talk to some of you soon. And the message of the day is own your meetings, say no to meetings and that are useless and just completely, invaluable. But it's also in a more broad sense, in a higher level sense, it's about knowing the opportunity cost of going to so many useless, no good, terrible meetings, and taking a look at what would be possible if you're not doing that anymore. And you are showing up for meetings in an empowering way, in a confident way, in a clarifying way, in a strategic way. So that's it for the day, folks. Talk to you again really, really soon. Bye for now.